If you walk fast and holding your head up with confidence, then you're a very focused person and a great problem solver. If you walk with your head held high, your shoulders back and chest forward, then you're very sociable. You like spending time with people, you're confident around them and like the appreciation. You also like a challenge and can be easily bored. If you walk at an average pace and have your posture relaxed, then you're a calm person. You tend to focus more on others rather than on yourself, and you're easily influenced. If you walk at a medium pace, but with confident strides, then you're very cooperative. Also, you're a great listener. You're likely to be loyal and a bit dependent on others. If you walk slowly, take slow steps, and keep your head lowered, then you're likely to be introverted and shy. If you cross your arms, then you like to be alone, or you're vulnerable. Another way to learn more about a person is to have a dinner with them and pay attention to their eating habits. People who eat slowly are not in a rush and like to enjoy their food. The same applies to life. They prefer to take the most out of every moment of their life. In work, they value quality over speed. Fast eaters love to do everything quickly. They're good at meeting the deadlines and multitasking. They also put other people's needs before their own and don't have enough time for themselves. If a person eats one kind of food at a time and doesn't like the food to be mixed up, they're very organized and like to keep everything tidy. They like to think things through and are very detail-oriented. On the other hand, if a person mixes up all the food and eats it together, they're likely an open and friendly person. If someone likes to try new and exotic food, they're likely to do so in life too. They're open to new experiences, like to take risks, are very brave, and never bored or boring. If a person eats very loudly, they tend to enjoy themselves. They know exactly what they want and go for it, careless of what others think. They're just marching to the beat of their own drum. And finally, if a person cuts everything into pieces before eating, it's someone who likes everything planned. They like to think forward and tend to have big expectations, dream big, and work hard to get exactly what they want. Just one note written by you is enough to get some impression. So let's look at your handwriting. What's the size of your letters? If they're small, then you're likely to be a shy and concentrated person. If the letters are average, then you're easygoing and flexible. And if the letters are large, then you're outgoing and love attention. Now, let's turn to spacing. If you leave a lot of space between the words, then you value your freedom. If the space is narrow, then you don't like to be alone. Look at your slant. If your letters are straight, then you're a very practical person that doesn't let their emotions go before their mind. If you slant the words to the right, then you're open-minded and like meeting new people. And if they're slanted to the left, then you like to be on your own. On top of that, if you're right-handed, left slant might mean that you're a rebel. Finally, pay attention to the speed of your writing. If you write slowly, then you're very organized. If you write fast, then you're impatient and don't like wasting time. We can also learn a lot about a person by simply looking at their social media profile. People who thoroughly fill in their profile, answer all the questions, and provide every detail are very open. Privacy settings perfectly reflect how much people are comfortable with sharing with others. People who have many friends on social media are usually self-conscious and tend to have low self-esteem. They have many friends because they're trying to compensate and appear to be popular on social media. People who post a lot, as well as those who like, comment, or share a lot, are extroverts. But if the person posts a lot of self-promotional content, like selfies, they're likely to be narcissistic. The same goes for those who update their status very often. It means the person is trying to promote themselves and is seeking admiration. Next, music. Music is actually a very intimate thing because it speaks to the soul, so music tastes can tell a lot. People who like classical music and opera tend to have high self-esteem and are very creative. The same applies to jazz and blues lovers, but those are also calm and outgoing. Country music lovers are hard-working and sociable. Pop music lovers are hard-working and outgoing, but they're not creative and tend to be a little haughty. Rock and heavy metal lovers are usually introverted but creative. They have low self-esteem and are a bit on the lazy side. Those fond of dance music are sociable and creative. Rap lovers like to chat a lot but tend to look down on others. But even seemingly tiny things can mean a lot, like the way you keep your toilet paper, for example. If you keep it in the overhand, then you're likely to be dominant. If you prefer it in the underhand position, then you're submissive. We spend a lot of time on our smartphones, so there's no wonder some habits of using it can tell a lot about you too. Do you hold it, scroll, and type using just one hand? If so, you're a very confident person who reaches their goals. But in relationships, you probably like to take your time to decide if the person is right for you, so you may appear reserved to others. Now, if you hold your phone in one hand and work with the other's thumb, then you're reasonable and smart. You carefully think through before doing something and like to take things into account before making a decision. Again, it's the opposite in relationships. Here, you tend to make unthoughtful decisions and can be very judging. If you use your index finger to work on the phone, then you're probably very creative. In romantic relationship, you're shy and it's hard for you to create the bonds. Finally, if you use both your hands to hold your phone and work on it, then you're quick-witted and prefer to make your decisions fast. You're a flexible and well-adapted person who can quickly get used to any conditions. But it's not so handy in the matters of love. Your assertiveness might scare the person, so you often fail to get closer to them. The way you take a selfie also matters. If you take it from below, then you're an agreeable person. If you don't like to reveal your background and carefully choose a spot for a picture, then you're meticulous. If you smile or laugh while taking a picture, then you're a very open person. And finally, duck face is typical for a bit neurotic people. Let's now talk about the way you eat your pizza. Very important. Let's start with the weirdest way, those who eat the crust first. Those people, if they even exist, obviously are very dramatic and love getting attention. People that eat pizza with a fork and knife are very loyal and reliable, and they like to follow the rules. People who fold their pizza before biting are very efficient, like to take risks, and also get bored easily. And if you just bite your pizza from the side of the angle, you're a perfectionist who prefers to do things right. Now, how do you write the X letter? Surprisingly, there's as many as 8 ways to do it. If you write it the first 2 ways, you're focused on the past that holds you and doesn't make you go forward. If your way is the third one, you're probably a rebel. The fourth way means you're looking to the future, but some part of you still holds you back in the past. The fifth way of writing indicates you're very independent and like to do everything your own way. If you write it like number 6, then you're a trendsetter. The seventh way is considered to be the most efficient and the right way of writing the letter. So if you do it like this, you prefer to follow the norms and like having balance in your life. And if you do it as in number 8, then you're likely to be a person who thinks outside the box. Interestingly, the way kids react to a person can also tell a lot about the personality. Little children don't judge anyone by their looks, their way of thinking, or education. So they're way harder to mess up than with adults. Instead, children draw their opinions based on people's body language and face expressions, which are way harder to control. So, if kids like you, then you must be a very nice person. Take it as a compliment. You know, your giggles during serious moments aren't laughter at all. It's a defense mechanism that helps you get through tough times. Even though some people understand it, you might experience extreme discomfort if that happens to you. So, to stop yourself from giggling at tense moments, you need to substitute this kind of behavior with something that takes your attention away. Lip licking or even lip biting can help. You can also try biting the insides of your cheeks or even pinch yourself. The sudden pain will stop you from laughing. Or not. Fidgeting is another way out. The main thing is to find something that might distract you. It can be clicking a pen, pressing phone buttons, or even touching your earrings, guys. If you just can't help it, the only possible way out is to leave. Find a good excuse. You can say you're feeling sick and need some fresh air and laugh it out when no one else can see. Laughter can also be a good medicine whenever you feel stressed, but it might be a bit out of place. Anyway, sometimes running away doesn't seem possible and lip biting doesn't help. In this case, you could try to focus on one color in the room. Find all the objects around you, and then all the red ones, and so on. Even such a small goal can carry your emotions away. Sing your favorite song to yourself. Start counting from 1 to 20, or even recite that weird ad you saw on TV the other night. Again. It's all about switching your attention to something neutral. It usually takes under a minute to calm down when you stop thinking about something that makes you nervous. When you enter a party, chances are all eyes are on you. Keep your eyes wide open to show that you're open to this world too. When you're smiling, keep your mouth slightly open. If the smile is too wide, some people might think it's a bit fake. Well, time to greet everyone here. Remember that a weak handshake may be pretty offensive. It's your first impression after all. If your handshake is firm, people instantly think you're an outgoing and sociable person. Also, those who have a firm handshake are more likely to get a job. And yeah, nobody likes touching cold hands, so warm them up before handshaking. Now, the way someone shakes your hand can show their intentions. A glove handshake means they can be trusted. And if someone touches your arm or shoulder while shaking your hand, it probably means this person lacks communication. Also, carry your handbag, gals, in the left hand. The right one is always ready for a handshake. It's not really convenient to switch hands at the moment when you need to greet a person at a party. Another trick to seem more sociable at any event is to always hold a drink. This way, people around you somehow believe you're more approachable. No matter if it's an old friend or someone you just met, always use the name of the person you're talking to. Yeah, there may be hundreds of guests at a party, but if you repeat their name while talking to them, it'll make them feel special. I had a friend in school who could remember the names of everyone she met at a party. I remember everyone liked her for it too. Throw a compliment to whomever you're talking to. Psychologists claim everything we say influences the way people perceive us. When you give a compliment and say someone's stunning, they subconsciously start thinking you're nice. It works both ways. If you complain someone's not nice, people might think it's you who isn't nice, not the one you're talking about. To get even more people to like you, try a mirroring technique. It's basically all about reflecting and repeating the body language of the person you're talking with. It's always nice to meet someone just like you. As for body language, mind your posture. Keep your chin parallel to the floor and shoulders rolled back all the time. While sitting, keep the legs crossed. It helps to keep a good posture too. Many people can subconsciously feel the mood of the people around them. So, if you want your friend to feel comfortable when they're with you, be in a great mood, or at least try to. Your good vibes will spread, and people will instantly like you just because they feel good when you're around. Expect good things from people. It may sound totally weird, but if you think someone's not nice, you'll behave in a way that reveals all the worst things about this person. Chances are, they won't be really nice to you. If you show friendliness instead, most people will do the same thing. Now, this next one is kind of illogical. If you're too nice and altruistic, some people might not want to work and make friends with you. Sounds weird, but the problem is that selfless people might make other people feel they look worse. Others simply don't believe in altruistic people's sincerity. Yeah, nobody really likes Mr. and Mrs. Perfect. Do they exist at all? So, a good tip is to show how imperfect you can be sometimes. Psychologists say people tend to like those who actually make mistakes from time to time. How true. Now, touching people non-stop isn't a good idea, but a subtle touch can make people feel better about you when you're talking with them. tap them slightly on the back or touch their arm, but please don't go to extremes. An experiment showed that waitresses who used this technique while returning the change earned bigger tips. Whoa, profit! To make someone like you even more, try telling them a secret. It should be something personal that could be used against you. It works both ways, but your new friend must be sure you won't spill the tea. Trustworthiness is as vital as loyalty and honesty. Casual questions like, "What's your favorite color?" are okay, but "Tell me about your first love" could probably help you get to know this person better. Anyway, your behavior on the internet forms the general impression people have about you. Don't share too many photos on social media. Yeah, it might seem like you're sociable and open. Still, a recent study proved that people don't really seem to relate well to those who overshare on the internet. But don't go to extremes the other way either. Not sharing at all can be even worse than oversharing. It looks suspicious when someone has either too many or too few people on their friends list. Another study revealed that the perfect amount of likability is about 300 people. People who had under 100 people on their list had a low likability rating, while those who had over 300 were seen as looking for popularity or too focused on social media. Hey, can we talk? Forget 300. If you have even 6 true friends who really know you and love you anyway, that's way better than 300 acquaintances. But that's just my opinion. Alright, back to the party. When you talk with someone and get a dissatisfactory answer, try looking them in the eye. This way, many people start feeling something's wrong, which might possibly make them change their mind. Nope, it doesn't work if you ask a stranger to give you their car as a gift. What were you thinking? Whenever you're having a hot discussion and your opponent just won't agree with you, start speaking faster. This way, they just won't have enough time to process everything, and they'll have to think it over again and probably reconsider their opinion. It works both ways. If a person agrees with you, start speaking slower so that they could evaluate the message properly. Again, speaking fast won't get you a stranger's car for free. What's this about cars? The way you ask people for help is important if you want to make sure you'll get what you need. People like feeling important, so if you say, "I need you," you're more likely to get that help. Rock, paper, scissors is famous for helping people make hard choices. There's only one sure way to win it. Right before the game, ask your opponent a random question like, "Did you know we're all made of pixels?" Your friend will be confused and not likely to throw scissors. Of course, it's what friends do for each other is a magic word combination you should say whenever someone says thank you for something you've done for them. Frankly, please say anything except "no problem," which just devalues the kind gesture the person made. Some people tend to forget good things others do for them, but this phrase will make people remember they kind of owe you. Another classic response is, "You're welcome." Hardly hear that one anymore. Reading body language can help you read people's minds. If someone closes their eyes, they're either hiding something or they're just tired of you. Probably both. When a person touches their mouth, it must be because they've just said something they didn't mean to. Or they have a cold sore. The way people sit can give them away. Those who lean forward while sitting usually want to make contact and they like the person they're talking with. If a person tends to lean back instead, it shows they're bored and don't really want to talk. Either way, you just found out something about them. You're welcome. I want you to pay attention to how close a person stands to you. If your friend backs away when you move closer, it may signify that your connection isn't mutual. This is especially obvious when you observe how people talk to each other in couples. If a person moves back in a chair during your conversation, this may indicate boredom or fatigue. Politeness doesn't allow most people to end communication even if they don't enjoy it. If you've noticed this micro gesture, you may want to ask about the person's well-being or suggest taking a break. When someone approaches you, even after you've moved away from them, this may indicate a desire to be dominant in your relationships or convince you of something. Body orientation is the angle of a person's body in relation to yours during your conversation. It often reveals who or what we're really interested in. Many people consider crossing arms while talking a bad habit because the audience may perceive this as a sign of vulnerability and self-doubt. This rule also applies to the legs. If you want to leave an impression of a confident and friendly person, try to stand and sit without crossing your legs and arms. Holding your hand behind your forearm is a negative signal to people around you. We usually take this position when we're gloomy or angry. And the higher you grab your hand, the unhappier you seem to people. Just like animals, people tend to demonstrate the so-called territorial behavior. The higher a person's economic and social position is, the more territory this person tends to occupy. People usually express it by making themselves comfortable in a chair, putting legs on a table, spreading their arms and legs wide apart, publicly stretching, and so on. Confident people don't hesitate taking up a lot of space, while people who feel insecure will unconsciously seek to take up less space, squeeze their shoulders, and keep their hands close to the body. When people hold drinks or phones at the level of their hearts, this may signify a subconscious desire to protect themselves from the world. Holding these items at the waist level reveals a person who feels safe and open to communication. If palms are facing upward, it means that, subconsciously, this person is suggesting or asking something. Most people associate open palms with truthfulness, honesty, and allegiance. Meanwhile, when palms are facing downward, it indicates a complaining and demanding mood. If a person starts to nod repeatedly and excessively while you're talking, it might indicate that the subject you're discussing is boring or unpleasant. So, people nod way too much when they try to prove their ability to follow instructions. You probably did this too in stressful situations, like starting a new job or meeting someone special. If this gesture is accompanied with frequent blinking, the person is likely to feel overwhelmed by the speaker's authority and craves to leave a good impression. When someone like you walks into the room, your subconscious mind will want to make sure that you look attractive. This may result in touching your clothes, fixing hair and accessories. People also tend to take a more graceful body position and even start looking around for a mirror or any other reflective surface. Some may constantly touch their own skin and lick their lips. If you notice this behavior in someone you're talking to, don't rush to plan your family though. Maybe somebody else in the room is the object of their affection. Or they're just perfectionists who want to look better in the eyes of other people. When someone fakes a smile, you will notice that their eyes aren't smiling along with the lips. Also, fake smiles aren't contagious, so you probably won't feel the urge to smile back. This issue can be easily resolved with a good, unpredictable joke. A clenched jaw indicates anxiety. Whether you notice it or not, it happens subconsciously. If you meet someone with clenched jaws, it probably means that this person is thinking about something stressful. Remember, there are no perfectly symmetrical faces in nature. If you know someone with such a face, this person is probably a robot. False asymmetrical emotions usually manifest as a raised eyebrow or a crooked smile distorted in one direction. When someone experiences intense emotions but tries to stay calm and bossy, it can cause them to blink with only one eye. Sudden blushing is usually involuntary and triggered by intense emotions such as embarrassment, shyness, guilt, or romantic feelings. These emotional triggers force the body to release adrenaline, which stimulates the nervous system and widens blood vessels. In most cases, blushing sends a signal that the person would like to avoid unnecessary attention. Also, red cheeks often indicate people who are afraid that their secrets might be publicly revealed. When people are really focused on conversation, their palms usually don't move. If you're talking to someone and notice this person is knocking a fist on the table or chair up and down, it's a sign that you're not engaging them. When you hear something cute, but at the same time the speaker clenches their fists instinctively, this person is probably exaggerating, lying, or trying to hide pent-up anger. Tilting the head to the side is regarded as a gesture of trust and sympathy. Vital arteries, which supply the brain with oxygen, are in the neck. People who feel any threat will instinctively hide these arteries, pulling their heads into their shoulders. People who tilt their heads while communicating usually seem much more attractive and trustworthy because this gesture brings playful vibes. When you enter a party, chances are all eyes are on you. Keep your eyes wide open to show that you're open to this world too. When you're smiling, keep your mouth slightly open. If the smile is too wide, some people might think that it's a bit fake. Time to greet everyone here. Remember that a weak handshake may be pretty offensive. It's the first impression after all. If your handshake is firm, people instantly think you're an outgoing and sociable person. Also, those who have a firm handshake are more likely to get a job. And yeah, nobody likes touching cold hands, so warm them up before handshaking. The way someone shakes your hand can show their intentions. A glove handshake means they can be trusted, and if someone touches your arm or shoulder while shaking your hand, it probably means this person lacks communication. Throw a compliment to whomever you're talking to. Psychologists claim everything we say influences the way people perceive us. When you give a compliment and say someone's stunning, they subconsciously start thinking you're nice. It works both ways. If you complain someone's not nice, people might think it's you who isn't nice, not the one you're talking about. To get even more people to like you, try a mirroring technique. It's basically all about reflecting and repeating the body language of the person you're talking with. It's also nice to meet someone just like you. As for body language, mind your posture. Keep your chin parallel to the floor and shoulders rolled back all the time. While sitting, keep the legs crossed. It helps to keep a good posture too. Touching people nonstop isn't a good idea, but a subtle touch can make people feel better about you when you're talking with them. Tap them slightly on the back or touch their arm, but please don't go to extremes. An experiment showed that waitresses who used this technique while returning the change earned larger tips. Profit from that. To make someone like you even more, try telling them a secret. It should be something personal that could be used against you. It works both ways, but your new friend must be sure you won't spill the tea. Trustworthiness is as vital as loyalty and honesty. When you talk with someone and get a dissatisfactory answer, try looking them in the eye. This way, many people start feeling something's wrong, which might possibly make them change their mind. Whenever you're having a hot discussion and your opponent just won't agree with you, start speaking faster. This way, they just won't have enough time to process everything and they'll have to think it over again and probably reconsider their opinion. It works both ways. If a person agrees with you, start speaking slower so that they could evaluate the message properly. Reading body language can help you read people's minds. If someone closes their eyes, they're either hiding something or they're just tired of you. Probably both. When a person touches their mouth, it must be because they've just said something they didn't mean to, or they have a cold sore. It seems that we make most of our decisions on autopilot because of habitual behaviors one is likely formed in childhood, habits you didn't even decide to accept. Even if you didn't grow up without money, you could be sending that message to the world, like striving for success no matter what the cost. Seems admirable, but is it really? Here's my list. Number 1. Buying expensive gifts. The feeling of poverty can haunt a person their whole life, even if they have money now. They're often ashamed of their poor background. To show that their finances are now all right, they'll shower others in expensive gifts, pricey things they'd never buy for themselves. 2. Being impulsive. Investing in unreliable startups and schemes often comes hand in hand with a poor mentality. These people subconsciously think they have nothing to lose, and they're bent on that one great investment that'll make them rich fast. Not that investing is bad. Plenty of financially successful people do it. But they calculate the pros and cons. They don't do it impulsively. Plus, their investments don't leave them strapped for cash. That's the difference. 3. Keeping expired foods. People with a poor upbringing might have had a shortage of food, so as adults, they can't bring themselves to throw it away, even when it's expired. This squirreling behavior can also spill into other areas of their lives. They might keep things others regard as trash, an old broken bicycle, clothes that no longer fit or are covered in stains, and the like. When you know a life with few material possessions, it's hard for you to part with the ones you have. 4. Spending money fast. As soon as that paycheck gets deposited into the bank, it's gone before it could even get comfy. Sound familiar? Poor-minded people spend their money as quickly as possible because, deep down inside, they're afraid it'll disappear. They don't even realize they do it. It's instinctual. Instead of thinking about how to manage the money right or putting it into a savings account, they'll do things like 5. Making unnecessary purchases. People who grew up in a difficult money situation often don't know much about financial planning. I mean, you can't decide what to do with your extra cash when you don't have any. As adults, this usually turns into making unnecessary purchases without thinking of the consequences. They want to show society they aren't poor anymore. A good example is taking out loans to buy all the latest gadgets and accessories you essentially don't need. Truly successful people rarely waste money on expensive items. When they do spend big, it's a must, like for investments. 6. Feeling guilty about freebies. People who grew up in low-income families feel shame or offended when someone offers them something for free. They can regard this as a recognition of their poverty from other people. Here, have a free lunch at the company's expense because you're poor. That's obviously not the intention, but they might take it that way because of their personal complexes. Poor-minded people would rather pay for something because they want to show the world that they can afford it. Seeing a pattern here? 7. Avoiding auto payments. People who grew up without money can't imagine having their funds taken away from them without their knowing it. That's not to say they don't make their payments. They just rather physically press the pay button themselves. They want to be in control of who takes their money and when. That, and they could be afraid that they might need this money for something else, like an emergency. That's also why they tend to make payments at the last minute. 8. Settling for jobs they don't like. A person who grew up in poverty will work any job as long as it pays. They'll even master a profession they're not passionate about. A lot of it comes down to parents that desperately want their kid to become rich, so they choose promising professions for them in advance, even if the child doesn't like it. But how can you achieve success in a field you can't stand? Could have to do with number 9. The endless pursuit of money. Success doesn't necessarily mean rich, though it's nice when the two go hand in hand. For one person, success is all about having a happy, healthy family. For another, it's turning their passion into their profession. But for the poor-minded, success automatically means boatloads of money and expensive things. They want to be rich, and they'll do anything to achieve that. Sad thing is, it's a struggle when that's not where your interests lie. 10. Procrastinating. Here's the catch-22. The pursuit to become rich fast often leads people to procrastination, and you'll never make money if you're sitting around doing nothing. They might complain a lot or get tired waiting for the day when they have millions in the bank. And when you add the fact that they're not passionate about their work, it's hard to get motivated each day. 11. Panicking over the economy. People can read the news and be horrified by predictions of economic recession and collapse. The fear that they're about to lose everything can keep them glued to the TV screen. Sure, it does sound scary enough, but if viewed objectively, their lives don't change all that much when the economy takes a dip. But I've got a few more poor mentality habits to avoid. 12. Not planning the day ahead. Write out an agenda for the day and stick to it. Don't make one just for the sake of having something written down. Approach this consciously. You need to understand clearly why you're doing this or that task. As soon as you realize this, you'll start seeing some order in your life, and you'll understand that time is the best investment. 13. Ignoring your health. Working day and night, going without sleep, eating fast food on the go, all for the pursuit of your career and financial goals. They say, "Wow, what a hard worker." Sure, But how can you be successful if your hard work is breaking you down? Always take time for your health. It's much easier to work when you feel good. It's a habit among rich people to devote at least 30 minutes a day to financial fitness. Do this, and you'll get a boost of real productivity no cup of coffee can compete with. 14. Forgetting about self-development. Truly successful people realize that they need to constantly learn something new. And there's nothing boring or academic about it. It can be fun. Try to do useful things when you come home from work. Take up a hobby. Sign up for a workshop. There are free ones, no shame in that. Improve your skills. Reading books is a favorite among the rich. 15. Getting up at the last minute. Most successful people get up an hour, maybe 2 or even 3, before they need to go to work. As for those who don't like their job, they get up at the last minute, have breakfast on the go, and get mad at themselves for being late. This is a big stress for the body, and you definitely won't have time for self-development in this mode. Try to take your time before work. Wake up earlier, do some exercises, read literature that's important to you. Draw up an action plan for the day, week, or even year. You'll come to work fresh and feeling on top of your game. Hey, if you learned something new today, then give the video a like and share it with a friend. And here are some other cool videos I think you'll enjoy. Just click to the left or right, and remember, stay on the bright side of life. Waking up in the morning is one thing. Getting out of bed, totally different story. So what can you do? What if tomorrow you reach for that glass of water on your bedside table as soon as you wake up? Did you know that nearly 70% of your brain is filled with water? I didn't. Anyway, when you drink water, it's supposed to improve your brain power. Without water, you're kinda like a car running on fumes. Dehydration makes you feel tired, drained, and lifeless. So, start the day off right by chugging a whole glass or 2. Drinking water on an empty stomach jumpstarts your metabolism. Adding a slice or 2 of lemon in there is supposed to be even better. Water helps to flush out toxins from your body and makes it easier to lose weight. And you can drink it while you're still in bed. Ooh, score! Research has found that making your bed in the morning is actually good for you. It'll be one of your first accomplishments for the day. No, you won't get a Nobel Prize for it, but hey, not every achievement gets a medal. Something as simple as making your bed can reduce your mental stress. Not just that, it's supposed to lead to increased productivity throughout the day. Plus, your room will look cleaner. Some people meditate right when they wake up, and apparently they feel awesome after it. Research says that just 10 minutes of meditation a day can improve concentration. But its benefits don't stop there. It's supposed to stimulate the brain and boost long-term memory. Meditation helps people who are feeling anxious or sad to feel better. And if you're already doing pretty well, it can make things even better. What if just one day went according to plan? That would be great, wouldn't it? But for things to go to plan, there needs to be yes, you guessed it, a plan. So how about taking a few minutes in the morning to organize your thoughts? That way you won't forget to do anything important, and you'll probably pick a better order for all the stuff you gotta do. And writing a plan to have fun, that actually works. After you organize your day, you'll be much more likely to tackle the big stuff first. That way, you'll be much less stressed out later on, and you'll feel great when you cross your completed tasks off your to-do list. Now, let's start moving and grooving. Wait, that's too much grooving before noon. So let's just stick to moving. When you exercise, you feel more energetic and more awake. The type of exercise you do doesn't matter, as long as you're actually doing it. Run, walk, swim, lift, cycle, anything's okay as long as it's exercise. Next, keep a journal. Whatever you're feeling, put it down on paper. You'll get to know yourself better, and it can help you overcome any negative emotions. In the journal, you can also write down a few things you're grateful for, which is a great mood booster. And here's where journaling in the morning gives you an edge. Your day hasn't started yet, but you're already feeling grateful and positive. And yes, you can use your beloved phone to make a diary too. Taking a cold shower in the morning will definitely wake you up, and it clears your mind and increases your energy levels. It's also known to make people more resilient to stress. and you'll be able to impress your friends by jumping into an icy cold river on your next camping trip. Now, didn't someone once say that you are what you eat? Hey, I don't look like peanut butter yet. But having a healthy breakfast is a great way to kickstart the day. Researchers say that whole grains and avocados improve the blood flow to the brain, while raspberries and blueberries may help control stress. When planning your breakfast menu, just go nuts. I mean, almonds and hazelnuts are packed with vitamin E and are great for brain health, especially as you get older. Research says that pumpkin seeds are also great for… Wait, what were we talking about? Yikes. Pass me those nuts. Are squirrels and chipmunks smarter than they seem? They eat nuts non-stop. Another great thing you can do for yourself is wake up early. Getting up every day around 5 or 6 in the morning may not be too bad if you go to bed early enough. Research says that people get their best sleep before midnight. Waking up early in the morning will give you more time to focus on self-care. And with more time on your hands, you'll obviously feel less stressed. When you get up early, you'll have plenty of time to plan your day to make it even more productive. Having a fixed morning routine also helps you feel less stressed. When you do something consistently, it takes away the trouble of making decisions. At least for the first hour of your day, you won't waste energy figuring out what to do. Take a few minutes to visualize your perfect day. Just sit back, close your eyes, and imagine a day where everything goes perfectly. In your mind, make your day as productive, happy, and as enjoyable as you can. Then, when you get back to reality, you'll feel energized and motivated. It's also super important to know what not to do. Do you hit the snooze button every morning? I sometimes do. But apparently, it does more harm than good. When your alarm first goes off, it breaks your sleep cycle. So, getting a few extra minutes of Z's doesn't leave you feeling more rested. It's just the opposite. Checking your phone in the morning is also a big no-no. You'll start off the day feeling like you missed out on stuff that happened while you were asleep. Healthy minds don't need undue stress, so just let the phone be. Another thing to avoid is TV. Instead, switch on some music when you wake up. That'll set the tone for your productive day. You can go the soothing route to calm your mind, or maybe something a little more raise the roof. Some people try on multiple outfits in the morning. And now you've gotten a mountain of clothes on your bed, plus you're too stressed out to get on with your day. And if you end up feeling like you chose the wrong thing, your self-confidence can take a big hit. It's usually best to plan ahead. Before going to bed, lay out your clothes for the next day. You'll be calmer in the morning. Or you can go all Steve Jobs and just buy a bunch of copies of the same outfit. Now, don't guzzle sugar in the morning. It doesn't fill you up, and it gives you a sudden jolting energy boost that your brain's not prepared to handle. That spike in energy is just temporary. By the time you go out the door, you'll be feeling down again. Not exactly ideal. Worse still, sugar leaves you feeling jittery, and some studies say that excess sugar can make a person feel sadder over time. Other research says that consuming sugar makes learning and memorizing stuff more difficult. But luckily, not all sugar is created equal. Go for some fresh fruit, or if you have to sweeten up that coffee, use coconut sugar or maple syrup. It's a more complex sugar that takes longer for the body to digest, so it's more of a steady, long-lasting energy lift. This next one's a bit tricky. Every morning, think of something to look forward to. It doesn't have to be epic, you just need to find something to get you out of that comfy, delicious bed. A piece of chocolate you left at work, seeing your friends, laughing at your boss's new haircut, anything. You know the phrase, fake it till you make it? When you get up, smile, even if it's the last thing you feel like doing. Your brain's actually not that smart. It can't always tell the difference between a fake smile and a real one. When you smile, your brain thinks you're happy. Then it releases chemicals to make you feel happier. Deception. And lastly, let that natural morning light in. Feeling real sunlight on your face makes you feel wide awake, and it'll tell your body that it's time to get up and hit it. Have yourself a great day.
So do you want to get rich? Or maybe you just want to be better with your money? No, the solution isn't finding some sunken treasure or winning a game show. It's changing some simple habits that a lot of people share. Excessive and indulgent spending. It's a big one, and it can mean a big purchase or the small ones you barely notice. The thing is, all these purchases add up to a significant sum to your earnings. For instance, let's put all your bills in a backpack. One streaming service subscription will not carry much weight, but add 2 more memberships and that backpack is starting to get heavier. You went out to dinner last night, but you also ordered the takeaway on the previous 3 nights. Starting to feel the strain? You just bought that new guitar you wanted. It's okay, you saved up for it and you still have the room in your backpack. But you still also bought a few little things along the way. New clothes, some comic books, got a haircut. Now your bag is too heavy and you can't carry it. You've got all these things you wanted, but you're currently stuck. Of course, you need to spend on food, new clothes, and the things that make you happy. But first, you need to budget. One easy tip is to create a table or a spreadsheet and lay out how much money you earn every week. Decide how much you need to spend on essentials and save to stay on track for your financial target. Then you'll have a clear summary of what money you have left to spend. It's important to know what you can afford and when. Ask yourself if your old sneakers might last another month before you buy a new pair, or if people can still see your eyes through your banks before getting a haircut. At the same time, it's important not to deprive yourself of what you can afford. Too much focus on saving money. Have you ever hit a diet hard and ended up falling back into unhealthy eating habits? It's usually a result of being too hard on yourself or expecting too much. After all, we all deserve to treat ourselves now and then. The same can be said about saving money. One sugary treat or sweet dessert a day can help you keep to your diet. So too can the occasional spending alleviate the stress of working towards a financial goal. Say you've been eating nothing but salad and vegetables for 3 days. Your tummy is grumbling and you're craving that chocolate cake your housemate just baked. You finally give in. You can't take it anymore. You gobble down a slice of cake, but now you've failed your diet, so you may as well have another. Before you know it, you've eaten the whole cake. Setting goals for yourself can be a challenging task. The more complex the goal, the easier it is to slip up and feel disheartened. When you're disheartened, it's hard not to give up altogether. But don't give up. You allow yourself that one slice of cake a day that will make your diet a lot easier. So treat yourself, see a movie with a friend, or buy those new sneakers you've been eyeing. But make sure you're sticking to your budget. Comparing your finances with others. Your next-door neighbor has a big fancy house, a lovely swimming pool, and a widescreen TV. You're probably thinking, why haven't I got a big house like theirs? On the other hand, the neighbor across the street has a smaller house and an old car. You're probably feeling pretty good about your financial situation right about now. After all, it could be worse, right? However, whether the people around you are richer or poorer, it doesn't necessarily mean that you're better or worse off than they are. Comparing your worth to others won't help you reach your own financial goal. It will only distract you. Don't waste time concentrating on what your neighbors have or don't have. Just worry about your own goals. Make a plan that works for you and take action. Maybe in 10 years you'll have an even bigger house than your next-door neighbor. It doesn't matter. It's not a competition. All that matters is your own goals. We're all on our unique paths. Neglecting change to earn more money. Settling into a stable job with a comfortable pay package and slowly climbing the ranks used to be the norm for most people. Sure, you get into a comfortable routine, you go to work, impress your boss, receive your paycheck, and party with your friends on the weekend. It sounds pretty straightforward, and that might not necessarily be a good thing for you. Maybe you're getting bored of that same routine, and perhaps you're not challenging yourself to reach your wants and potential. Today, there's more to life than the 9-to-5 grind. With so many opportunities in the workforce, it's not uncommon for people to seek out new career paths until they find something they like and are good at. For instance, you might have a job as a teacher, but you're an animal lover and would enjoy a career as a veterinarian. Sure, getting a new degree and building yourself up in that industry might be challenging, but in the end, you might be happier for it, and you'll likely be earning more doing something you're passionate about. Changing these old ways of thinking extends to how you act when your financial circumstances change also. You've just gotten a big promotion at the job you love, and that comes with a generous pay raise. However, you're still living by your previous needs, doing all the chores yourself and cooking cheap pasta for dinner to save every cent. Learn to change your perspective and adjust your lifestyle to your earnings. If you can afford it, you've earned it, and making life easier on you will only make your work life more enjoyable. Focusing on the price tag. Jessie J once sang, "It's not about the money, money, money." Well, in the case of our video, it kind of is, but it may not be about the price tag. Remember that guitar you were saving up for? Well, you've now got your savings, and you're at the music shop ready to buy. But you look at the price tag on the guitar you want, and you hesitate. Sure, you've got enough, but you could also spend less on a cheaper guitar and save. So you buy the cheapest guitar in the shop and put the rest of that money in the bank. However, when you get home, your guitar won't tune properly, and it sounds awful. This is an example of wasting your money even when you think you were saving it. Maybe you're more inclined to buy something purely because it is expensive. When you make a purchase, the value doesn't come from how much you save or how much you've spent. It comes from what it means to you. Don't think about what you're losing. Think about what you're gaining, and remember to keep your budget. You might have to save several months for the guitar you want, but buy it when you reach your target. If you're a musician, think of it as an investment. A good guitar will help you play at gigs and potentially make that money back. It's making smart money. If you're looking to make smart money, you might want to consider where you put your money. Even if you're saving it in the bank, think about what account is best for accumulating interest. Spending money you don't have. Nowadays, there are so many more options and services than ever before to spend money you don't yet have. From credit cards to buy now, pay later websites, you can go home with that expensive item you were eyeing at the shops, only to pay it off in the future. It might be a more affordable option for some to manage their luxury spending, but it can quickly get out of hand if you're not careful. You just bought yourself that new guitar. It was expensive, but it's okay. You don't have to pay the total amount today. You can pay it off over the next few weeks. Now you still have more money to spend, more expensive items to buy, and more credit on your pay later account. You get home with all your new stuff, and you only spent a quarter of the price total on each. But now you have to make that same payment every 2 weeks, and the future is always uncertain. Your friends could be planning a spontaneous outing, or you could receive an unexpected bill. But you might also struggle to keep up with your financial goals for the next 2 months. It's always better to avoid spending money you don't have unless you can budget ahead with certainty. Saving money and setting yourself a financial goal is a tricky game, and there are a lot of do's and don'ts that can help you earn the money you want. But, like anything in life, the most important thing is your health and happiness. So set your targets, make a budget that works for you, and make sure to treat yourself when you can afford it. It might seem impossible sometimes, especially when you feel like you're living paycheck to paycheck, or you can't quite seem to keep that pesky money of yours in the bank. Sometimes it's got a mind of its own. You're not alone, we've all been there. Finances are a hard thing to keep on top of. Whether you're paying rent, bills, food, or leisure, life can be expensive. But don't worry, with these tips, we've got you covered.
Rich people prefer not to talk about money in public, and they never complain about it, neither in public nor in private. Those who do aren't usually great with it. Such people are ready to waste the last $500 on a pair of new shoes and be left with a $10 bill in their wallet. New money tends to scream, show off, and be as posh and luxurious as possible, while old money is way more modest and poised. It's the reason why you may be sitting right next to an extremely wealthy person who owns a multi-billion-dollar company and have no idea about it. Wealthy people often care about non-material things more than about something you can buy. They value privacy and comfort. That's why you'll probably never guess how rich a certain person actually is. Sure, there are those who made their fortune thanks to their fame and, as a result, zero privacy. But they make only about 3% of the rich. Rich people focus on what's inside, not outside, and they care a lot about health. Perfect teeth, smooth, spotless skin, and great posture. Grills adorned with precious gems can't interest them. Instead, their main goal is to have sparkling white and presentable teeth. They also care a lot about nails, so chances are you aren't ever going to see a really wealthy lady with long, ungroomed extensions. They prefer their nails neutral, perfectly trimmed, and having zero burrs. Another thing no rich person would ever do is spend time to save money. Wealthy people understand time is the most valuable resource out there, so they never prefer a couple of saved pennies to it. Poor people never pay for something they can do themselves. They always think twice if they can handle it without somebody else's help, be it a car repair, nails, or even a haircut. Truly rich people never bother even thinking about it. Remember, they always prefer their precious time over money. As for clothes, you aren't likely to see many labels on mature rich people. Luxury brands are now focusing on the younger generation, whose priority is to show off sometimes. Even if they had to save up lunch money for a half a year before they could afford to buy that brand new designer bag. Buying something you can't afford is not the best option, especially when it comes to something really expensive. Loans and credit cards eat up your budget with unfair interest rates. You may think having your own housing is cheaper because you don't need to pay the rent, but in fact, it's vice versa. So many rich people prefer to rent, not buy. Shoes are probably the most expensive thing in their outfit. Rich people believe investing in good accessories is important for comfort, plus the accessories do bring any look to a brand new level. Anyway, their outfits always match the occasion. They never overdress or put on all the best clothes they've got to show off. If it's a workout, they put on something that best fits it. If it's a formal occasion, they never hesitate to put on exquisite jewelry to complete their outfit. But they never do vice versa just because some piece of clothing is pricey and might show their status somehow. When wealthy people are out dining, they rarely look at the prices. Even more, they rarely look at the menu either. Usually they ask the waiter about specialties or simply order what they want. This rule can be applied to almost any purchase. It's pretty easy to understand whether you can afford something or not. If you stop to think whether you can, chances are you can't. Once you've started looking at cars and buildings as if they were cheap as a new t-shirt, it means you've become rich. Some credit cards can be made of metal, and if you ever see one, it surely belongs to a rich person. Different colors are also a good way to show what sort of bank client you are. Metal card fees to colors matter too, but it's pretty obvious. Those who want to be, and not only seem rich, might want to reconsider their money habits. If you clip a coupon just to get some random discount, better not. You risk ending up spending way more than you planned. In 2018, over 256 billion coupons were distributed in the U.S. A $200 item seems less appealing to us than one that used to cost $400 but was 50% discounted. You may feel excited clipping the coupon and using it, thinking about the bargain you've just had. But don't fall for it. Coupons make us spend more, forcing us to buy things we don't actually need. Before going grocery shopping, write a list of purchases, not to be lured by coupons. Same with discounted items. These can be real bargains sometimes, but if you buy something just because it's a bit less pricey, think twice. Poor quality and misleading delicious food don't give you enough nutrients, making you long for more and more. You can make your dishes more savory, adding some herbs. Try yourself at gardening, growing herbs in pots on your windowsill. It's also a bad idea to go grocery shopping when hungry, and especially if you do it more than once a week. Hunger makes you want to buy more and more, and sometimes you can have a temptation to buy things you don't normally eat. But you don't care now since you're starving. Some tips for saving money can be great, but there's one thing you should never ever do. Lotteries aren't going to make you rich. The only thing they're sure to do is burn your money to ashes fast, and millionaires don't pop into convenience stores just to casually grab a few lottery tickets. Odds are you're going to lose those $2 you invested. Yup, doesn't seem that much, but a regular lottery habit can turn into a major expense. Just count. If you buy 2 tickets at a time once a week, you'll spend about $200 a year. Money you could spend on education, sport, hobbies, or other long-term projects. All the other get-rich-quick schemes don't work either. The only people who actually got rich with those are their creators. Coffee is not the healthiest habit, so many millionaires don't spend money on it, opting for good quality water or other beverages. Still, if you just can't say no to your guilty pleasure, try buying a thermocup and brew coffee at home. You'll save money and nature, since the disposable coffee cups aren't recyclable and it takes about 20 years for them to decompose. A pop-in a coffee shop may be your daily ritual, but have you ever counted how much you spend on your morning habit? Millennials spend over $2,000 a year on coffee, investing sometimes more than they do in their retirement. Rich people are conscious, and they care not only about themselves, but about the environment too. Here's why you can often see rich people with their own water bottles. We usually need about 50 ounces of water a day, and bottled water may turn out pricey if you calculate all the bottles bought over a recent year. In total, people buy about 200 billion bottles a year. A nice reusable bottle with a filter will keep you hydrated and rich. As for daily habits, rich people care a lot about what they eat, so their meals never include snacks full of simple carbs. We spend a lot of money on small and quick things without even noticing it. For instance, quick snacks at gas stations may not cost a lot, but if you grab it every now and then, it will add up to a pretty penny in the end. If you can't afford restaurant lunches yet, try packing your own lunch instead. Of course, you can't eat out every day or shell out for some ready-to-consume only heat-up lunches. Anyway, a Tupperware with home-cooked meals is healthier and cheaper. These tricks can help you save hundreds of dollars a month. Creativity is definitely a sign you're intelligent, because to make something new on your own, you need to think outside of the box. Creative people rely more on the right side of the brain, which is more intuitive and visual, connected to arts, daydreaming, imagination. So if you like creating new stuff, you're definitely a smart person. Creativity is a result of genetics, something you naturally have the potential for and experience. We all have some potential to be creative at something, but we need to develop it. You like talking to yourself when doing the dishes, taking a shower, riding a bike, or doing anything where your mind wanders a little. When you talk out loud to yourself, you improve your self-control. You're curious and love exploring the world around you. It's not just gaining random skills, but a true desire to learn more about the world surrounding you and be open to new ideas, which plays a big role in cognitive growth. There's even a thing called curiosity quotient that describes the ability to learn new things about the world and make sense of them. You're messy? Wow, then I must be a genius. Psychologists did research with 2 groups of people, asking them to think of creative ways to use ping pong balls. The first group had to think of it in messy surroundings, while the second one was placed in a tidy setting. The first group brainstormed it better and presented outstanding ideas. It includes messy handwriting too. When others can barely read what you wrote, it means you're probably the person who does everything quickly and efficiently, and is very creative. A couple of extra IQ points go to a cluttered desk, but it's still better to tidy it every once in a while. You have a good sense of humor. One psychology study showed people who wrote funny cartoon captions and professional comedians had a higher score on verbal intelligence. Don't underrate a good joke. You have pretty good self-control. Scientists from a famous American university gave people IQ tests and offered the money they could get later or right away. Later meant a higher amount. Those who waited had higher results on IQ tests. It means when you slowly and carefully weigh your options, it means you're more intelligent. You're fine with being alone. Friends, families, parties, coffees, getting together, you enjoy it, but you also like being on your own, making plans, prioritizing, thinking, or simply enjoying time for yourself. You're good at dealing with your emotions. Sure thing, we can't always feel good. When you accept that emotions are a normal part of life, you also learn how to handle complex emotions, control your behavior, and express yourself healthily. It tells a lot about your emotional intelligence. You can handle things even when they get tough and challenging. Intelligent people can adapt to more complex and difficult situations or changes, even if everything is not the way they want it. These people respond to changes, build resilience, are not afraid to face problems, and adapt their behavior easily to get through tough times. You have a pretty good body memory. Hey, you got to that restaurant your friend was telling you about, even though you only walked to that area once, a couple of years ago, and can't explain how exactly you got there. You quickly learn some complicated dance steps after your instructor shows them once and have excellent coordination. You're present, observe details in your surroundings, remember things. You see expressions on faces surrounding you, observe how people behave without too much effort, have a good eye for patterns. Being observant can help with your creativity. Research showed left-handed people have quicker and more accurate spatial skills, better working memory, and pretty good mental flexibility. They're also great at so-called divergent thinking, which means when they think of a problem, they're open to different answers and think of multiple creative solutions. Introverts are people that avoid noisy places, big gatherings, parties, and prefer to be alone. They like to hang out with their closest friends. Research says over 75% of individuals whose IQ is over 160 are introverts. One study showed the oldest sibling in a family had IQ over 2 points higher than younger ones. The reason is not genetics, but family dynamics and environment, because the older sibling gets full attention from parents, while the younger ones are tutored by their older siblings, which requires more cognitive activity and improves intelligence. You're empathetic, which means if a friend is telling you about his problems, you're able to experience things from his perspective and get closer to how he feels. Emotional intelligence. When you can understand the feelings and experiences of people around you, it'll get much easier to identify your own traits, life values, abilities, and goals. You're open-minded and can talk to people with different points of view. You don't formulate your own opinions until you hear multiple solutions. However, once you form your point of view, you don't tend to change it, and you have good reasons for it. You can also have peaceful conversations because you can read the body language of people surrounding you, listen actively and empathetically, ask questions to understand them better, encourage them to think about other perspectives. You finish other people's sentences. It's not as creepy as it may look at first. It's a sign you do pay attention. You don't see yourself as a particularly smart person. Psychologists discovered less competent people often believe they are far smarter than others. In contrast, brilliant people don't point that out and focus on their limits and how to overcome them. Scientists did an experiment once. They asked university students to take a test in humor, English grammar, and logical reasoning. They were also supposed to predict their scores. Those who were sure they did extremely well had the worst results, unlike those who were critical of themselves. You're aware there's a lot you don't know, and you're not ashamed to admit it. Maybe you're great at math, but not so good at music or art. You often wonder about the big questions, meaning of life, the universe, future, things that are difficult to understand, which doesn't always cause positive feelings and can make you feel more worried. You procrastinate. Steve Jobs was one of the most famous procrastinators, and psychologists say that's one of the most important things to innovation. Steve would put things off, wait for new creative ideas to come to the table. Next time someone says you watch too much YouTube, just reply you're strategically procrastinating. Moving on. Alright, procrastination is not just scrolling your phone for a couple of hours per day and wasting time. It might be doing chores, taking a walk, doing some other activity where you let your thoughts wander, or even doing nothing. You learn to read early. Scientists did research with 2,000 pairs of identical twins. They realized those siblings who had learned to read earlier had better cognitive ability scores. It's because reading, especially from an early age, boosts our brain's nonverbal and verbal abilities. You love chocolate. Cocoa can help boost brain activity. Eating chocolate generally has a good effect on cognitive functions such as attention, memory, or speed of processing information, not only when you eat it, but even in the long term. You don't like background noise. Charles Darwin, Franz Kafka, and many other great minds preferred to do their work in complete silence. One study from 2015 showed the people who couldn't shut out the background noise easily ended up with more creative solutions and innovative answers on tests. Authors claim people bothered by that noise were better at focusing on multiple tasks at the same time, which required creative thinking. You like to wear the same clothes all the time. You can often see Mark Zuckerberg wearing simple clothes. The same gray t-shirt and blue jeans is his signature look. Many famous millionaires have enough money to buy the most expensive pieces, but like to focus their mental activity on more important things. You don't always want to try the hardest you can. Working 15 hours a day and generally having more things to do doesn't mean you're more effective. Your brain needs time to relax to come up with new creative ideas. You're pretty good at puzzles. No matter how challenging they are, you like to face the problem and try to find a way to observe patterns and solve puzzles. You prefer to spend time with creative and smart people because those you hang out with the most are a pretty good reflection of your own self. As you get older, you'll get less and less time, so you better spend it on people who help you build a better version of yourself. I need this to be perfect. If you repeat this phrase too often, it can make you sound like you're not smart or grounded enough. Those who expect perfection set themselves up for failure. Intelligent people prefer completing tasks step by step and watching what they can improve on the way. They don't impose unrealistic expectations on themselves and others and avoid manipulating and demanding tone. It's not fair. Using this phrase in conversations with your colleagues and friends, you risk making an impression of a naive person. Everyone around knows that life is unfair, so expecting justice may sound a little childish. Instead of complaining, smart people ask, "What can I do right now to improve this situation?" They have the skill to negotiate win-win conditions, openly discuss what they're ready to give and what they're expecting to get. No offense, but isn't the best way to start a conversation either. When people hear that, they subconsciously begin to expect something offensive and disrespectful from you. Smart people won't start the dialogue with negative vibes. You don't want to make the opponent feel defensive before you even got the chance to express what you have to say. Sometimes under pressure at work, you might say, "This will only take a minute," or "coming right up," and then spend hours and even days to accomplish the task. If you can't realistically estimate time frame, others might think you're not that smart and reliable. If you want to support the image of an intelligent person, never promise to complete the task sooner than it might be done. It'll be smarter to leave yourself more time and finish before the deadline. "It's not my fault" is another childish expression that you don't want to say at work. You definitely won't get any respect by blaming others for your own mistakes. Intelligent people have the ability to admit they're wrong and correct themselves. This phrase might also provoke people to strike first and blame you even more. So, if something bad happened and it really wasn't your fault, it's better to tell the facts in a calm manner and avoid pointing fingers. Words like "oopsie" or "my bad" are definitely not the most appropriate way to express regret about your mistake. People might feel that you're trying to discount the consequences and don't want to take responsibility for your actions. Avoid overwhelming people with unreasonably long and poorly constructed sentences. Double negatives such as "I didn't have nothing" or "I don't know nothing" can make you sound really silly. It's not only grammatically incorrect, but also difficult to comprehend. Two negatives in one sentence distort the meaning, which makes the poor listener hang up trying to untangle this snowball of words. "I have a silly question," or "this might be silly, but," and other phrases, in which you call yourself not so smart, usually appear when you're not confident enough and want to play it safe. Smart people try to avoid this because they don't feel embarrassed to ask any questions. That's how they get smart. If you lack confidence but strive to make other people respect you, start taking yourself seriously and avoid judging your own actions as silly. Avoid finishing sentences with "and stuff." It sounds immature and can take the listener away from the essence of your conversation. If you're voicing a list, it's better to name all points clearly. This will make you look more responsible and focused. Your colleagues and friends don't have to guess what you meant by stuff. Avoid parasite words like like, and other fillers in your speech. The same thing with words like literally, kind of, sort of, and the like. Overusing these words can make you sound less intelligent and competent. If they pop up automatically, try to breathe deeper when you speak, and don't be afraid to take up space with a pause if you need it. That's not my job description. People who refuse to take on responsibilities that go beyond their job position are risking leaving a negative impression. Others may think you're not interested in personal growth and accomplish your minimum capacity only to get your paycheck. Of course, you need to protect your rights and stop anyone from using your time for free. So, smart people use such cases as an excuse to negotiate a promotion or salary raise instead of just brushing off the task. Never mention your high IQ as evidence that you're smarter than everyone else. That's never been my problem. Psychologists have already discovered dozens of different kinds of intelligence, including linguistic, visual, musical, rhythmic, emotional, and others. IQ tests examine only one of them and determines how good you are at solving puzzles and problems. It doesn't guarantee that you're smarter in all aspects of life. That's why referring to IQ tests as evidence of your exceptional intelligence may sound outdated. Nowadays, technologies develop rapidly and innovations quickly become history. That's why the phrase, "I've always done it this way," makes you sound a bit lazy and resistant to progress. It makes people wonder why you didn't take the time to improve your routines. If you often repeat words that make you sound lazy and passive, it's unlikely that your boss will be eager to entrust you with responsible tasks and promotion. Another easy way to sound silly is to use words that you really don't understand in your vocabulary. If you're not 100% sure about the meaning of the word or its proper pronunciation, Google it, or at least avoid using this word. Be careful with using too many buzzwords and professional slang just to sound cool, especially with people who don't know the meaning of those words. It can make you sound like you're a robot who lacks empathy and quotes a business book. It's okay to say, "I'm not sure," from time to time if you're talking about certain facts. But if you're expressing your own opinion and putting too many qualifiers in every sentence, this may sound confusing and awkward. Smart people have faith that their point of view matters and express their subjective opinion loud and clear to avoid unnecessary chaos. Sometimes we all get overwhelmed by seemingly impossible missions. Repeating the phrase, "I can't do it," won't get you any help or support. But it can make you sound silly and lazy. Smart people look for solutions instead of making excuses. And if they really don't have the proper experience or skills to accomplish the task, they don't hesitate to ask for help. Addressing your male colleagues with dude or bro can leave a disrespectful aftertaste. The same goes for girls when it comes to females. Conservative people might find this highly inappropriate and even offensive. If you work for a very informal startup and this form of communication is considered normal, make sure it's okay to call someone bro before doing it. When you say, "I'll try," it'll make you sound like you don't have enough confidence in your ability to complete the task. Intelligent people know that they are responsible for their own actions. If you claim out loud that you doubt your capabilities, others will doubt you even more. People who aren't business savvy tend to judge without doing detailed research. If you're impulsive and rude in judging people, events, and places, you may gain the reputation of a shallow person. Smart people don't rush to conclusions and take time to observe. I'm your huge fan. Idolizing people around you or celebrities can make you sound a bit naive. Any person has strong and weak qualities, and smart people respect others for who they really are and avoid turning anyone into a perfect imaginary friend. If you blindly imitate celebrities, repeat their phrases and actions, wear the same haircuts and outfits, you won't be considered a mature individual. Intelligent people have the courage to be themselves. There are also plenty of nonverbal ways to look less with it than you actually are. Constantly nodding your head, sitting in a twisted back position, or violating the dress code. If your company demands all employees to wear business casual for corporate events, and you show up wearing jeans and a hoodie, people might think you lack awareness and respect. I'll be back in 20 minutes. If you have a habit of leaving such notes at your workplace, people may think you're not very smart. A customer who has just arrived at a cafe or store and sees a closed door with this note doesn't know when you left. They can't estimate how long they need to wait. That's why it's more intelligent to indicate the exact time when you plan to return to your workplace. Got it? Good.
Have you ever noticed you sometimes make choices you can hardly explain? Well, psychology did all the work for you. But before we jump into the world of mind traps, how about a short one-question quiz? Do you know how many people live in India? If not, feel free to take an educated guess. You probably know it's not the record breaker, but it takes second place, so it must be a lot. Probably more than 1 billion people, but definitely less than 8 billion. So, let's say 2 billion. You were close to the correct answer, 1.417 billion, and it's a good example of the anchoring effect in action. You took some familiar data, used it as anchors, and based your conclusion around them. In this case, the anchoring effect helped you out, but it can also be the bad guy. Let's say you're thinking of buying a new suitcase. You see one for $400 in the shop window. That's too much. But then you walk inside and find the super sale corner. There, the suitcase costs $100, and the offer is, of course, time limited. You get excited because you now use the first suitcase as your mental anchor, and buy the on-sale item without much thinking. You didn't plan to make the purchase today, and you only bought that very suitcase because it was cheaper. That's the kind of anchoring marketing experts use to sell you things you don't really need. Do you also have that one friend who's a fan of personality tests? They claim that those descriptions he gets at the end sound so strikingly true, and just like them, right? The same goes for horoscopes. How did they know that they were going to have so many amazing moments in February? Well, you gotta thank the Barnum effect for that amazing accuracy. Your brain fills in the gaps in vague and general statements that could be true for anyone to make you link them with your life. And because we all prefer to hear nice things about ourselves, we believe the positive statements with greater ease. As for the negative ones, your brain usually treats them skeptically. That's why they mostly write something nice in the results section of those tests. Halo effect is another popular mind trap. To see how it works, meet Jane, an HR specialist. Jane has 2 candidates for the position of manager. Susan is a Harvard graduate with an extraordinarily high IQ. She is ambitious and diligent, has 0 work experience, and finds it hard to control her emotions. The second candidate is Sarah. She sometimes loses her temper, doesn't have any work experience, and is diligent and ambitious. Her IQ is extra high, and she graduated from Harvard. So, let me guess. Do you think Jane chose Susan? She also won me over at Harvard. But in fact, the 2 candidates have exactly the same characteristics. Just the order of listing was different. The halo effect makes us single out the first piece of information we get and base our judgment on it. That's why we often jump to wrong conclusions based on some qualities we attribute to a person without even knowing them. Harvard graduate? Must be an ideal fit. The rest doesn't really matter. If you want your vision of the world to be more objective, don't let your brain take such mental shortcuts and try to move beyond first impressions. Remember the last time you had a bad hair day? Spilled coffee on a white shirt, or wore mismatched socks by accident, and everyone was staring at you? In fact, they weren't. But the spotlight effect made you feel like that. When you're focused on something, your brain makes you believe everyone else is focused on that as well. You're naturally the center of your own universe, and you see the world through your experiences and perspective. The good news is that others do the same, so you don't have to worry about that stain or your weird sock choices. You just bought a new hairdryer that all celebrities have, and the whole internet praises it nonstop. It was super expensive, but definitely worth it, right? You start reading online reviews, you test the gadget, you even do the math to figure out how much money you saved. Now you don't need a hairstylist anymore. Yay, it looks like you did make the right decision after all. No matter if it's buying a hairdryer or dropping out of college, admit one thing. You don't like to be wrong. It's in human nature to look for confirmation that you're doing the right thing, or believe your opinion is the only right one. You've got to thank confirmation bias for it. It makes you look for and find evidence that you're on the right path, even when some signs point to no. So even if you do find some negative reviews on the hairdryer here and there, your brain just helps you successfully ignore them. You prefer to feel like you always know exactly what to do, so you give more weight to evidence supporting your choices. Imagine your favorite team loses 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 games in a row. It happens so many times that you're sure they just have to win the 6th game. And then you toss a coin and it lands on tails 3 times in a row, so you feel like it has to land on heads next. Congrats, you've just been subject to the Monte Carlo fallacy. It's a mistaken belief that past events influence the future, so you can predict the outcome of any game or bet. This mind trap got its name after one memorable evening in Monte Carlo. The black color came up 29 times on the roulette wheel. A lot of people lost lump sums of money because they were sure it would be impossible for the wheel to bring up the color black more than 10 times in a row, and they placed whole fortunes on the color red. That's great proof that you can't always build logical connections between events to predict the future. Mark is planning a summer vacation, and he finds a beautiful package deal for $2,000 for 7 days. It's a bit too much. But then he keeps scrolling, and he sees other offers which start from $5,000. Looks like the first one wasn't such a bad deal after all. The price of the tour package hasn't changed by a cent, but Mark is now ready to pay that price. Well, looks like the contrast effect has just tricked him into making an expensive purchase. It's successfully used in sales and also affects your everyday life. You'd probably feel like you're worse at math than you really are if you're placed in a class full of students who excel at it. A medium-priced car will look cheaper standing next to a luxurious vehicle. The contrast effect works in so many ways and situations that scientists still don't have one explanation for how it works. Imagine you're planning to spend a while in a foreign country, and you're choosing the best plan for your cell phone. The first option costs $20 and has 1 gigabyte of internet per month. Not enough to cover your needs, but the price is good. The second plan includes 5 gigabytes and costs $40. It seems like a lot. But then you discover that you can pay $50 and get 8 gigabytes of data. You don't really need that much, but because the difference between the second and the third plans is so little, you choose the 8 gigabytes option. Well, without knowing, you just fell in the decoy effect trap. When you find it hard to choose between 2 options, adding the third one, or rather, a decoy, can push you towards one of the choices. The decoy makes one of the options look much better, and marketing pros gladly use this trap to motivate you to spend and consume more than you really need.
That's it for today. So hey, if you pacified your curiosity, then give the video a like and share it with your friends. Or if you want more, just click on these videos and stay on the bright